I would start right about now. We have Chanda with us, and she's looking forward to taking us through everything on how to build our financial literacy and how to build wealth through investing and planning for retirement. So I would be sharing Chanda's bio shortly, but in the meantime, I want Chanda to know where we are all joining from. So please introduce yourself in the chat, your name, your nation, where you are joining from, and maybe possibly you can also share about your degree, like what you're studying. Hopefully, we have someone who is in the banking sector like Chanda. Okay, so please let's use the chat to introduce ourselves so Chanda is aware of where we are all joining from. If you miss me at any point, please let me know in the chat. Let's see. Please use the chat to introduce yourself. Let me read. Yeah, the introduction should be coming in soon. Your name, your nation, and oh yeah, hi Precious from the Kingdom of Eswatini. So fun fact, Precious was our only scholar from Eswatini for a very long time until we had one, I think, about last year, right, Precious? So Precious was a lone ranger for a long time in WMI, but now she has a younger sister. Welcome, Precious. Hi, Melissa. Melissa is an engineer from Zimbabwe, a chemical engineer. Hi, Melissa. Good to have you here today. Please let's introduce ourselves. So my name is Success. I am from Nigeria. Oh, you're bringing her to DBC. Awesome. So I'm from Nigeria. I studied biochemistry as my first degree, and I'm working with WMI in the administrative sector. Good to have you all. So let me just introduce Chanda while we continue with the introductions in the chat. So Chanda is an experienced corporate investment banking manager with a demonstrated history of working in the financial sector. As a strong customer service professional, she is driven by the call to serve and offer efficient customer service and financial investment solutions. Her current role entails client acquisition, relationship management, business strategy, and growth. Chanda ensures that all controls are in place to ensure security of the bank and clients she manages, and she has experience in different departments and has good knowledge of bank products and processes, and that helps her to understand the retail and corporate clients better and to gain ability to cross-sell. Chanda's passion for service has been complemented by her ability to champion the corporate CSR events, the client events, and the colleague engagements alongside the marketing team. Chanda is in volunteering partnership with Vision Zambia Initiative, where she attends workshops as a guest speaker to reach out to young girls on various topics affecting them with a view to inform, empower, and inspire them. It's such an honor to have you with us today, Chanda, and thank you for accepting to be a speaker on the Advancing Women's Economic Power July 2026 session. We really appreciate you. And if it's okay with you, you can have the floor now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Success. Whenever I listen to someone making an introduction, it's like, really, that's me, hey? It's it's interesting. It's been an interesting journey. I'm happy to be here, and I'm glad to be speaking to um, ladies from different sectors. And so it's a pleasure to interact with everybody. As you know, when you're in the bank and you're working under relationship management and customer service, you get to interact with different people. So it's always interesting. Um, I'm glad to have all of you here. It's such a pleasure. It's an honor. I would really love this to be a very interactive session. I would like for us to share our best practices, share our knowledge. Please do not treat it as a lecture. We're here to share information, and I would like you to engage as much as possible. Thank you. So, ladies, before I start, is there anything in particular? If there's anything in particular that you would like to ask, share, or comment on as we go, please feel free to stop me down, or even an experience. Please do feel free to share the experience. I'll be very glad to have that input from you. Are we okay? Are we good?
Yes, Chanda.
Are we good to go? I will not be able to see hands. I will not be able to see any comments in the chat. So please do let me know. Um, if we're good to start, then I think we can start with what we're going to discuss today. We all right? Are you able to hear me?
Yes, Chanda, I'm able to hear you. Are you able to see my screen
Okay.
so you can have the ability to use the chat? So I'm kind of sharing my screen. So
Okay, great. I think that would be very helpful. I would rather you share the screen so that I'm able to interact more with the team, and yeah, I'm able to see your screen.
okay.
All right, great. So we can move on to our contents page. Okay, great. So we will basically be looking at those 5 items there. I'll be expanding as we go. So we'll look at the 5 categories of personal financial management. We'll look at income streams, basic financial terms, components of a good financial plan, and we are going to wrap it up with generational wealth. So when we look at the categories of financial management, so I think what I would like this to flow as, we're going to start with personal finances, then we can move on to business, and we can also talk about investments both at personal level and at business level, and then we'll let it flow like that. Like I said, please do feel free to stop me, to slow me down, and to interact. So when we look at our financial management, personal financial management, we're referring to the individual or household ability to understand the financial situation, right? So starting at personal level, we're looking at our savings, our income, our expenditure. So we'll start with the basics, and as we go, I think we'll be able to pick it up. So income, basically the money that we're making from our jobs, from the PJs that we're doing, We've lost your page. We've lost the page that you were sharing.
I think success has dropped off. Let me try to share from my end.
Okay, all right. As you do that, I'll continue speaking. So our income is basically the money that we're making on a regular basis from our work or through investments. And then spending is basically just what you're paying out. What are you using to buy your goods, to hire the services? Savings, this is just our deferred consumption, money that we're setting aside for future use. Investing, what we're here for today, expending money with the expectation of achieving a profit or a material gain. And then we'll look at also protection. Okay. So, yes, you've made your money. Yes, you're investing, but how do you protect yourself against losses? So, we have outside forces that may interfere with what you have made. So, when you have made your finances, you've purchased something. How are you going to safeguard yourself? So, that's where we bring in issues of, for instance, insurance. So, that being said, we basically have different income streams, right? Phoebe, are you able to check? Can I go ahead and oh, there we go. Okay. So we have our different income streams. Okay. There's the earned income. This is the income that's coming from your regular job. Your profit income. You've made some money, you've made some extra money after you've bought and sold something. Your interest income. If you, for instance, lent out money and you've lent it out at an agreed rate, that extra money that's coming on top of what you lent out is your interest income. Then you have your residual income. Okay, this is when you keep getting paid even after the work is done. A perfect example of this would be an artist, for instance, who's made some music and they continue to get royalties post that. Then you have your dividend income. Okay. You own some stocks in a company and there's profit sharing at the end of the financial year. You get your dividends. You have your rental income. Okay. You own some property, it's being rented, your rental income. Then you have capital gains. You own a piece of land, for instance, after a certain period of time, this piece of land has gained some value, extra value from when you purchased it. That's your capital gain. And then you have the royalty income. The royalty income is this, which is coming from people using your ideas. Um, I'll I'll leave it at that. Would anyone like to add any other form of income stream, or are we okay with what's been shared so far? The 8 income streams. Okay, so we'll take the silence as we're good. Phoebe, we can move on to the next part. Awesome, awesome. So we have basic financial terms as we ease into this. Okay. Assets, the things that are making us money. Liabilities, the things that are costing us money. Stock, a slice of ownership. Index, when you've got a list of stocks. Your bonds, this is money that you lend out to the government. Portfolio is just basically everything that you own. And then the dividend we spoke about on the previous page, the profits that are shared with the investor. So sometimes we get questions like, so what's the difference between stock and equity, for instance? So equity is your stake of ownership in a company. And this may be uh, tradable or not. And then you have your stock. This is what is usually shared with traded and shared with the general public. So if you're going to buy some stock in a company, you're going to buy a piece of ownership in that company. But equity is basically your ownership that is there. Phoebe, we can go now that we know the basic terms. I think we can start getting deeper into it. So I think on the title of this we had stock options. Okay, so stock options, these are just basically the contracts that give you the buying or selling rights. Okay, not the obligation, but the buying or selling rights. Previous page, I think you're going ahead of us. Yes, right there, right there. Yes. So with stock options, you have the privilege of buying or selling stock at a predetermined price. So they come in two categories. There's the employee stock options, and then there's the traded market stock options. So I think quite often we hear about employees being given the opportunity to buy a stake of the company that they're working in. And this usually comes with some conditions. Okay, so how exactly does this work? Instead of them giving you, as an employee, instead of them giving you straight shares, you have to meet certain milestones. Sometimes this could be where they tell you, okay, before you can actually exercise this, we have to wait for a certain period of time, or we have to wait for certain milestones before you can exercise them. So this is called the vesting schedule. So you are meeting certain performance milestones, and the goal is that the stock has to gain. Oh, we still have people coming in. This is great. The stock has to gain in price, and then you can exercise your option to sell or to buy more. And then you have the traded market options. Okay, so this is now to the general public. You as an individual are able to invest. You can buy stock in a company, or you can sell your stock after a certain period. So we have two options there. There's the call option and there's the put option. So the call option is you can buy stock at a predetermined price. You can call on it at a predetermined price before a certain date. And this always happens, or usually happens, when you are anticipating that the price is going to rise. So you buy that stock in advance. Put options are just the exact opposite. Okay. You can sell your stock when you're anticipating that the price is going to fall. So in short, you work with speculation. Whenever there's trading, it's always speculation, and that's why in certain markets you find that the prices fluctuate even based on the slightest of rumors. You will see people selling quickly because of something that they've heard, or buying quickly because of something that they've heard. So it's all speculation. Okay, and that's why you see certain people take the step of hedging. Okay, this is a protection against the investment that they have. You buy in advance or you sell in advance. If there are no questions here, I'll be good to move on. If there are any questions, I can hang on. Please do let me know.
Thank you, Chanda. The question here is the employee stock options, can it be transferred? Like, say, an employee buys this employee stock options, and can they resell it or no?
So when you have the option, assuming you've met all these milestones that the company has set, you are able to buy more stock from it. Because remember, when they are trading to when they are giving to the employees, um, the company usually has more than enough. There's the tradable stock, and that which they're keeping. So they'll be able to sell you more. You'll be buying from the company, and if it means selling, you can still sell back to the company. So if you're referring to saying, I'm going to buy Success's stock, Success will probably be selling back to the company or buying back from the company.
Oh, okay.
So that's why you will normally find, when a company has been set up, they will have a certain number of shares that they have set aside for trading. So that is usually, if we could go deeper into it, let me not get lost in it. So that is usually indicated even in the company's documents, how much of the company's shares are tradable and not. So you can
Mm-hmm.
have employees trading from that, yes, and the general public for the PLCs.
Okay. Thank you, Chanda. Yeah, I think that's all the questions. We can go ahead.
Okay, can move on to the next slide. Okay, so seeing as we're speaking about investments today, if we're going to invest, then we have to have a good financial plan for it. So how are we going to do this? We have to have our financial goals, and financial goals come in threes. So we have the short-term goals, our medium term, and we have the long-term goals. So short term, we're basically looking at 5 years and under. Our medium term, we're looking at 5 to 10 years, and long term, we're looking at 10 years or more. So, for those who are looking at making personal goals, that's what you're looking at. Business goals, you're still looking at that. And even as you talk about things like bonds, for instance, you will find that they are being traded at 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 and 15 years. So that still fits into the short, medium, and long-term goals. And then we're also going to be looking at our net worth statement. Okay. Your net worth is basically your assets minus your liabilities. What you remain with there is your net worth. So don't be discouraged right now if your liabilities, many of us right now have liabilities that are quite hefty and more than our assets, and that's why we're here, right? So that we can learn how to build our assets, so that we can free up more cash flow. So when you've looked at your financial goals, you've looked at your net worth statement, you also have to look at obviously the budget and the cash flow planning. So your budget is obviously just your guide as how you're going to do this. It will help you determine what you are going to further invest in and what you need to cut back on. Your budget and your cash flow planning is what's going to help you to ascertain your wants and your needs, if I can put it simply. Yeah, your wants and your needs, your must haves and must spend on against your nice to haves. So you know that every month you need to get to work, you need to get to school, you need to get somewhere. So your transportation is a must have. Do you really need to eat out every Friday? It's a nice to have. If you can manage it in your budget, then great. But uh, if you are, depending on what you're doing at that point in your life, there are certain things you might want to cut back on, because obviously things like gym membership, eating out every day or every Friday, some of those we can probably do without, or we'll decide. I give an example of gym membership. I love to work out. Okay, if I feel I'm spending a little too much on it, how else can I work out without having to go to the gym? What am I going to cut on there? It prevents me from maybe spending that extra buck on the fuel that's going to take me there and the subscription. Okay, now I've perhaps bought some dumbbells that I can use from home. Let me see how else I can do. Nowadays, we're moving with smartphones that have all these nice apps on what you can do, all that. So please, this is not to say we should not go to the gym. I'm just giving an example. Let's do what we can to stay healthy. It was just an example of your nice to haves and must haves, um, as you make your budgeting and cash flow planning. And next slide, please. So very important as we invest is obviously the debt management. If you know a couple of bankers, then you must know that we are definitely not afraid of debt. And some of the debt that we have is jaw dropping. So debt in itself is not a bad thing. there's good debt and there's bad debt. If you are going to have debt, then you have to have a plan for it. Okay. And I think it is always said that to borrow money, you have to prove that you have money to pay back. For a bank to lend to you, you have to prove to it that you actually don't need the money. So, so when you look at your debt management plan, always have a plan for your debt. How are you going to repay it? When are you going to repay it? Ask the important questions if you're going to borrow. Most people will go to acquire debt without asking the important questions. What rate am I paying at? When am I going to finish this loan? What else can I do? Do I have to wait for the repayment period to finish and just stick to the same amount that they told me to pay? You can actually go on ahead and pay more than as and when you can pay more than what you signed up for if you want to finish your debt early. And also to improve your credit score, obviously, you are expected to borrow and to show that you can actually pay back. So make sure that you have a plan for the debt. And even as you repay back, I think it's so much easier for you to repay a loan or any other form of debt, knowing how you spent it. It's quite painful when you are paying for something that you don't have, anything to look at to say that's why. Retirement plan. So, assuming everything has gone well, you've managed to pay off your mortgage, you've managed to pay off all your loans and whatnot. What does your retirement plan look like? I think in most places, you can have early retirement if you intend to work. I think retirement age could go up to the age of 65. But what if you live up to the age of 80 and 90? That's quite a long time to live for one not to plan on how they're going to spend time, how they're going to invest today, so that that period is not just survival mode from the onset. So the best time to obviously start planning for that is now, and that's why we're here. And then so emergency funds, insurance, and estate planning. So I think we are often advised to have an emergency fund for as we grow older, obviously some issues such as health reasons, and also for other eventualities. Could be you walk into your office one day and they tell you they no longer need your services. Then what? So when we look at the planning for a rainy day, okay, you will often be told try to have something aside for maybe a period of 3 months. Ideally, they tell us 6 months, but how many of us are really putting aside something that's going to help us survive 6 months? I think sometimes we have enough to survive up to a week, right? So yeah, so basically, we're looking at how we can save to plan for that period. How are we planning so that we have what's liquid and what we can easily turn liquid in case of an emergency? Okay, so try to cover what you can. Start saving up today. Start investing today, and I think it's going to be an easier ride. We can move to the next slide, please. So, speaking of investments and financial planning, I think something that I'm quite passionate about is building generational wealth. We tend to find that most of the time when we are investing for the now. It starts with me, it ends with me. And I think we've seen it other in other families, we've seen it in other places where when someone builds a business, um, it's for the entire generation and those to come. Very often, I think we tend to build a business that only lasts as long as our lifetime, which is not a good thing. I mean, imagine if all of us were starting from a position where we were inheriting something that had already been built for us. I think it would have given us a very a good advantage even when we were starting out, right? So when we speak of generational wealth, in a nutshell, this is inherited wealth that is passed on from generation to generation. It's about building a legacy. It's about assets, resources, financial legacies that are passed down. Okay. And this is within the family. So it takes many different forms. I'll just speak about four. Okay. So we have the financial assets, the stocks, the bonds, the real estate. We have the business, the family enterprises. We also have properties, could be land, homes, it could be real estate holdings. We have intellectual properties, your patents, trademarks, and copyrights. So when we just look at that part, we've already covered a lot of what we've spoken about in earlier slides. I think it makes it much easier for us to understand. So, what are the strategies then that we're going to use to build this generational wealth? So, investing. You're not going to invest in only one thing. We are not going to lay our eggs in one basket. So, you diversify your portfolio of investments. You grow your income streams. Education. If you're going to build generational wealth, then it will be very important for you to obviously invest in your education, invest in the education of other family members that are going to help you build this wealth. Business planning. If it's going to be a family business, then you need to know how you're going to plan it, how you're going to hand it over to the next generation, who is going to be well equipped to handle this business when you are ready to step down. Estate planning, creating a plan for distributing wealth to future generations. So what I've covered in the strategies is tying into the different forms of the generational wealth. I think I'll go back to reemphasize on the education. If you do not educate your family members right on the nature of the business and how they are to handle it, then I think it will be very difficult for you to pass it on. So it comes back to how are you grooming the people within the family, with be it friends that you're building with, but how are you building this business that you can pass it on and pass it on right? So, what are the benefits of this generational wealth? Okay, one, it gives us financial stability, the safety net for future generations. So, like I said, it gives you an advantage if you're starting from zero and someone who's already got something that they were handed. I think it gives them a certain advantage. And so, even as we build our investments, as we build our wealth, we ensure that we are able to provide this safety net. The long term planning. So, we're not going to take a short term view on this. When you're building a business, you're building any form of investment, you would like it to last and to grow. And therefore, because of that, you are planning for the future, you have to be very strategic about it. Legacy. You do not want your business or your investments to just die with you. You want it to grow. You want this to be remembered many years down the line. It should not start and end with you. This does not come without challenges. So, among those challenges and considerations that we're to make, one, the wealth management. So, this requires our careful planning and management to maintain and to grow the wealth. So when we look at wealth management, I think we have seen certain instances where so much has been put in to grow the business, to grow the family, to grow the investment, and once it's handed to the wrong person, everything is lost. We will look at the family dynamics, right? Once we hear there's a business to be handed over, there's wealth to be handed over, I think a lot, this is Africa, a lot comes into play. So there's bound to be conflict. There's bound to be differences in values. There's bound to be differences in what direction the business should take. There is bound to be differences and conflicts for as long as there's there's wealth sharing. I mean, even just a simple example of family members being called to, say, reading of a will, you can already see and feel the tension that comes with that, right? And so that's why it's very important that when we're building this generational wealth, we take all these things into consideration. What forms, what strategies, what are the benefits, what are the possible challenges and considerations that we're to make? Thanks, Phoebe. I think I'll pause here. Do we have any questions, contributions, comments, experiences?
Thank you. Thank you, Chanda. We just have a question from Precious. I think she was referring to the last question you answered and asking, so you can sell back to the company like the employee stock, but you cannot sell to other employees. So she's trying to get a clarification there.
You can sell back to the company. It will be the same. You selling to another employee is the same as you selling to the company, because the prices at which the shares are being traded are public, and
Okay.
therefore, yes, you're basically, it's the same thing. The amount is the same.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. So I I have a question around, when you talk about long-term planning, is this just for business, building businesses, or is this for investment? Because sometimes some stocks can crash. Is there a way to know, okay, that this stock is going to do well over a period of 10 years and this one is going to do well for just a few years? Is there a hack to finding that out so that it can be planned better?
Okay. So I think we did talk about hedging, right? That's basically you protecting yourself from loss, possible loss. So looking at the nature of the business would be a very good guide as to how it may perform. Okay, so if we're looking at let's say technology, for instance, that would be it would be a very difficult thing for you to plan 10 years ahead and buy excess stocks, because technology is constantly changing. Um, so what seems to be a hit now can easily be a loss in a very short period of time. But then there are certain businesses that are definitely going to grow. So I'll give an example here, right? I'll fall back on technology. When you look at, say, Nokia, in the beginning,
Mhm,
when they were just joining the industry, everything was going great. They were leading the market. And when things went south, what the CEO then said was, we did everything right, and yet we lost. That was one of the biggest, I think, for for the longest, was one of the biggest companies in that sector, and they did everything right, but just overlooking one or two things is what sent everything crashing down. So you can imagine how the stock was lost overnight for a company like that.
mhm,
If you're going to look at, say, property, okay, property,
mhm,
that does not crash overnight.
mhm,
Very often it takes it, you can see it coming, but it's not going to
mhm,
crash overnight. If you're looking at the pharmaceutical industry, I think
mhm,
if you live in a neighborhood like mine, there's a pharmacy at every corner. So
mhm.
it already shows that that's big business, and it's not going away anytime soon. So
Okay.
yes, getting back to your question, the nature of the business will be a good guide, and also you hedging against possible losses. So even as you invest, make sure that you are hedging against possible losses. Same as if you look at it would be a whole new topic. If you look at the global markets, financial markets, right? Currencies are constantly fluctuating, but we also do have currencies that are more stable than others. So if you're going to save, for instance, it would be a good guide for you to save in a currency that is stable, unlike one
Mm-hmm.
that is constantly fluctuating. And I think when you look at the financial markets, it's easy to see which currencies are stable or have been stable for longer periods of time. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much, Shanda.
All right. Thanks. Okay. So we have we this is a quarter to four. Um, and I wanted to just share this one line before I open it up for any other comments and give you some time back. So we all have dreams, but in order to make those dreams come into reality, it takes an awful lot of determination, dedication, and self-discipline and effort. So when it comes to building and investing, there will be many times when you will have some great investments, and there will be many times that you will make some great losses as well. But that should not discourage us. um I personally have sat back and thought, I'm an investment banker. Obviously every decision I make is very well thought through, but I've also made some losses. I've made some great investments. I've made some losses, sometimes due to market, sometimes due to unforeseen circumstances, and sometimes we get duped, and the deal goes belly up. But that is not to discourage anyone. I think it's very important that all of us take an interest in um, what's going on in our personal lives financially, but also what's going on at an industry level, what's going on at a country level. So that way, I think we'll be better braced to face our investments and know what areas to deal in and what not.
Thank you so much, Shanda. I would hand it over to Phoebe now. Can I stop sharing? Is this the last? I think this is the last slide. Okay. Thank you. So let me stop share.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I hope we had a wonderful. The session was good for us. So before we let Chanda go, any other questions or any other comments that we have? Okay. So Success asks, is there a way to get low interest loans?
Is there a way to get low interest loans? There's you need to do a lot of shopping. That's one, and a lot of asking the right questions. I've come to learn that very often, most people will approach a financial institution and ask them if they qualify for a loan. Once you are told you qualify, your interest shifts from what are the interest rates, what's the repayment period, um, what's the amortization on it, to when can I have the money. And once you're given the money, that's it. You forget to ask the relevant questions, and next thing you know, you are trapped in a debt cycle. Is there a way of getting low interest? Well, it depends on the institution that you approach. Very often we'll find that the loan sharks are going to cost you a lot. The banks tend to have lower interest rates. Um, and obviously because they have a wider base to fall back on. So ideally, I think you need to do the shopping. Make sure that you ask more than one, more than two, more than three institutions, and then you go for the best. But more importantly, ask the important questions when you're there. Ask for your amortization schedule. Ask for the interest rate. Ask for how long is it going to take you to repay. If you have to make any early repayments, are there any repercussions? And always make sure that you when you get your loan, make sure that you, as and when you have extra, you put in that money. It does two things for you. It shortens your repayment period, and it kills off the extra interest that you're supposed to pay. So that, I think, is going to help you.
Okay.
Thank you so
So
much.
there's another question. Please feel free, if you do not want to unmute, you can post your question in the chat. We have some time, about 10 minutes before we end. So we have some time to answer your questions. So there's another question. If I have, say, 200 US dollars to invest, how would you advise that I spread this through equity, stocks, gold, and REITs? Is crypto safe in this era? So there's, I think there are two questions there. There's those three categories of investment, and then also mentions, is crypto safe in this era?
So if you have $200 and you'd like to invest, um, I think when you go to the stock exchange, you'll be able to see you'll be able to see how much each business is selling its stocks at, and you will also be able to see which businesses have been paying out dividends in the past year, in the past 2 years. How much dividends have they been paying out? So even as you buy your stock, please ensure that you are buying in the right company, and that is a company that is growing. So yes, that way you'll be able to get your dividends. When it comes to crypto, when I look at the economy that we're in, specifically for the country that I'm in, we are not quite there yet, and there's a lot of speculation around it. So there's a lot of speculation around it, and also we've had quite a number of Ponzi schemes. So you might want to be more careful around that one. Um, so I think the first part of the question, how do you spread it? Please do check how much each company is selling its share at. Is it a profit making company? Look at the patterns that have been there in terms of fluctuation of the prices. Um, it's very important that whenever you are getting into any form of trade, because this is trading, in, it's very important that when you are getting into it, you note the patterns. I had earlier mentioned you having to read up on what's happening. Please do read up on the country economics, read up on the global economics, see what the fundamentals are currently as you make your investment, either in gold, um, whether it's in equities, whether it's, if you're in Zambia like me, whether it's a copper company, whatever it is that you're about to invest in. Please just check the trading price, check the pattern that's been there, and also know what fundamentals are currently at play.
Thank you for that. So I wanted to ask, in case there's someone who has this question. So maybe the group is made up of some of maybe people who are seasoned financial management experts, or they know a lot about it. So, what resources would you recommend for a beginner who wants to learn more about financial management, investment, personal finances as well? Are there any resources that you would recommend?
So start start from the basics, and also start from your own personal financial management, right? What is it that you would want to invest in? So if you're a beginner, try to read up on where your areas of interest lie. For instance, if you're looking at property, I think it's almost common knowledge that when the market is bleeding, that's the best time to buy as a person who's investing in say property. So if you've got some loose amount somewhere, when the market is bleeding, is the best time to buy. But at the same time, make sure nowadays, with the internet, there is so much information um on what to invest in, where to invest. There's so much information on the different types of businesses. And in today's world, I think we've shifted a lot from your regular businesses. There's a lot that AI has to offer. So please make sure that you stay abreast of that information. But in as much as it is good to take risks, please understand what risk you are about to take. Always interact with the industry captains. Always interact with people that are knowledgeable about the different products. If you're going to approach a bank or any other financial institution, then please just make sure that you're getting the right information.
Maybe as a follow up on that, are there books that you've read that beginners can read? That's one question. And then there's another question from Precious. She's asking, are there possibilities to invest in other countries?
Are there possibilities of investing in other countries? Yes. So right now, there have been quite a lot of investors that have come in for the Zambian bond market. It's been oversubscribed, for instance. Okay, and that's because it has been proven that the market is doing very well and it's been quite profitable. So I think aside the Zambians that have invested in this, we've had quite a lot of foreign investors in it, and if you can find another market that is similar to the Zambian one in terms of bonds, then I think both in and treasury bills, then it will be very profitable for you to invest in that particular country. Yes, there is a possibility of you investing in other countries. Um, Books that you can read. Phoebe, I'll share some books that can be shared with the group. Yes, there are quite a lot of books. I'm an avid reader, but I've also come to learn that I do not restrict myself to just the books. Um, I take special interest in first listening to the news when it comes to financial markets. Get onto sites like Moody's and Poor. You'll be able to know. Get onto Bloomberg. You'll be able to know what's happening globally, and those will be a good guide for you on what's going on. Get onto reading things by that are on websites such as Goldman and Sachs. So with those, you'll be able to know all the different fundamentals that are taking place. You'll be able to know in terms of trade globally, what's doing well, what's not, what is gold trading at, which companies are dealing in tech, what's flourishing, what's not. So those sites will show you every day not only which companies are doing great, but it will also show you what currencies are doing great, how are they performing. So that way you can invest in businesses, you can invest in financial markets, and you'll also be able to see which countries are able to, business wise, basically have, and you basically have a very holistic view of what's happening around you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Are there any more questions before we close out? I want to give one more question, comment before we close out. Okay, going once, twice. Okay. So I think that should be it. I don't see any other questions in the chat. If I've missed out your question, please do raise your hand so that I can double check. But I feel like I've covered the chat. Okay. So at this point in time, I want to thank you, Chanda, for your time, for coming to share your knowledge with us, and for just sparing your time on a Saturday afternoon. I know you could have been doing anything else, but you came to our community. I hope that everyone learned something today. Precious says this was very informative. I agree. It was very informative. I feel like we learn something every day. You can't be an expert in you learn something new even though you think you're an expert in a subject, which I am not in financial management. But thank you so much for your time, Chanda, and thank you for to everyone who came on as well and stayed till the end. I want to give you a few minutes, Chanda, to if you have any closing remarks before we close.
I think I'm just like I said, I'm always excited to share knowledge. I've been in the financial industry for so long, but we learn something every day, like you said, and also uh, um, being in the financial industry doesn't protect us from possible losses. So I think it's always very good to have sessions like this where we share best practice. It is always very important to interact with people from different industries, and it is always very important that as ladies we constantly keep abreast with what's going on. Please continue investing, not just for the now. Please let's continue investing and building wealth for generations. I had deliberately put generational wealth there so that it just doesn't end with us. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So in announcements, I don't know if Success has any other announcements, but the biggest announcement I have is that our next session will not be online, as it will be during DBC. So we have DBC. I know Chanda might be confused by the DBC. So we have a conference which the organization organizes every 3 years for scholars and alumni. It's called Dream Big Conference. So we have one this year, and it's taking place in Nairobi. Um, so the session, I hope everyone on here is attending DBC, but we have an in-person session as opposed to an online one. So I'm excited about that. And I'm also excited to have even the ladies that might not have attended any of the AWEP sessions. So we'll have those in person. The topic will be communicated. And then when the sign up forms come up for sessions, I do hope that all of us sign up for the AWEP session, as it will be very exciting. Once again, I want to thank you so much for your time. Success has not given any other announcements, so I'm thinking there isn't any other announcements. But thank you so much for your time once again, everyone, and do enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you. Thank you, Chanda, once again.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Chanda.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.